All right, buckle up, everyone, because we are diving deep into the world of consciousness today.
Definitely a mind-bending topic.
You got that right. We're exploring the source, exploring the dimensions of consciousness, from physical awareness to cosmic unity, and let me tell you, it's got some wild ideas.
Yeah, it's really pushing the boundaries.
Basically, it lays out these different tiers of consciousness, kind of like how video games have those tier lists.
I like that analogy.
So we're going to start at the bottom, the most relatable level, and then work our way up to some seriously out there concepts.
Sounds like a plan.
So this source, they call the first level C tier, physical awareness. They also call it our daily grind.
Which makes sense. It's basically just being present in your body. Right.
Exactly. You're talking to a friend, sipping coffee, feeling the sunshine, or maybe feeling stressed at work. Who knows? It's how we experience the world through our five senses.
And at this level, neuroscientists are doing incredible work, like mapping how our brains process all that sensory data.
I can barely read a map.
It's amazingly complex, though. Think about it. Even something as simple as catching a ball. It requires this incredible coordination. Your eyes track the ball, your brain calculates its trajectory, and your muscles react in perfect sync.
And we just do it without even thinking.
Right. Our brains are incredible.
And get this, our brains don't just chill out when we sleep. Oh no, they decide to throw a logic party, which leads us to
Dreamland.
B tier, the dream world, as the source calls it. And let me tell you, sometimes those parties get weird.
That's an understatement. Have you ever had one of those dreams that make absolutely zero sense when you wake up?
Like my brain just threw a bunch of random images into a blender.
Well, there's actually a theory called the activation synthesis theory that suggests that's exactly what's happening. During REM sleep, our brains are super active, so all this random neural activity is firing off, and our brains try to create a story out of it, even if it's completely bizarre.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like our brains become these creative machines just weaving together these nonsensical narratives.
And the funny thing is, we often find meaning in them, even when they seem completely random.
Maybe our subconscious is trying to tell us something.
Maybe. Okay, well, let's move on from the wild world of dreams to something a little more controlled.
You're talking about meditation.
Exactly. The source calls this next level A tier, meditation in trance. Think about those moments when you're totally absorbed in something, whether it's a creative project or just a really good book.
That feeling of being in the zone.
Exactly. And meditation is all about cultivating that state intentionally. It's about quieting the mind, focusing your attention, and reaching a deeper level of awareness.
But isn't that where things start getting a little woo?
It might seem that way, but there's actually a ton of scientific research backing up the benefits of meditation.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
Well, studies have shown that meditation can actually change our brainwave patterns, leading to increased alpha and theta waves.
And those are?
They're brainwaves associated with relaxation, focus, and even creativity.
Wow, so it's not just some mystical practice, it's actually backed by science.
It's like ancient wisdom meeting modern neuroscience.
Okay, so meditation is like a workout for your mind. You're strengthening those mental muscles.
I like that analogy. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to access those deeper states of consciousness.
But what about those of us who can barely sit still for 5 minutes, let alone meditate for an hour? Any advice for us meditation newbies?
You definitely don't have to become a Zen master overnight. There are so many different approaches to meditation.
Like what?
Well, some people find guided meditations helpful, where someone talks you through the process. Others prefer to focus on their breath or a mantra.
A mantra, like a magic spell.
Not quite magic, but it can feel that way. It's really just about finding a word or phrase that helps you focus your mind.
So it's all about finding what works for you. Meditation, brain waves, mantras. It's amazing how much there is to learn about our own minds.
And believe me, we're just scratching the surface. Oh, things are about to get even wilder.
You have no idea. Just wait until we get to S tier, expanded consciousness. Now we're talking about near-death experiences and the mind-altering world of psychedelics.
This is where we really start to push the boundaries of what we think we know about reality. Get ready for your mind to be blown. Okay, near-death experiences.
Yeah.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. I mean, we've all heard those stories.
People who have come close to death and lived to tell the tale. It's fascinating stuff.
And a lot of times, those stories have these really similar elements, even from people with totally different backgrounds.
Right, like the classic out-of-body experience. If you're feeling like you're floating above yourself, looking down on the scene. Yeah, or the whole tunnel of light thing. People describe it as this incredibly peaceful, even euphoric feeling.
And often they report a sense of being surrounded by loved ones who have passed away.
Okay, but is it really possible that our brains just create those experiences because they're under so much stress?
That's the million-dollar question. And there are definitely scientific explanations that attempt to explain some of these elements.
Like what?
Well, for example, oxygen deprivation to the brain can cause hallucinations and altered perceptions,
So that could explain the tunnel of light.
possibly. And there's also research on how the brain releases certain chemicals during trauma, which could also contribute to these vivid experiences.
Interesting. But that doesn't explain everything, right?
Exactly. Some near-death experiences are so detailed and specific, and some people even report having information they couldn't have possibly known otherwise. It's like those cases really make you wonder.
Wonder if there's something more to consciousness than we currently understand.
Exactly. It's like we catch these glimpses of something beyond our everyday reality.
Okay, well, if near-death experiences are like accidentally stumbling through a portal to another realm, then psychedelic experiences are like, I don't know.
Intentionally stepping through the door.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. And we're not just talking about your average party drugs here.
Right. These are substances like LSD, psilocybin mushrooms, DMT. They're known for inducing these really profound altered states of consciousness.
And a lot of times people describe these experiences as being deeply spiritual or mystical.
Right. They talk about this feeling of ego dissolution, like the boundaries of the self kind of dissolve, and they feel this sense of oneness with everything around them.
Wow, so it's like you're suddenly plugged into the universal mainframe.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And there's growing interest in the therapeutic potential of these substances.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that, like using psychedelics to treat depression or anxiety.
Exactly. And some studies are showing promising results. It seems like these experiences, even though they're temporary, can sometimes create these lasting positive changes in people's lives.
That's incredible. It really makes you think about the power of our own minds and how little we actually know about how they work.
Absolutely. And the source actually takes us even further down this rabbit hole.
Oh, we're going deeper.
We're about to dive head first into the deep end. Get ready for collective consciousness, multidimensionality, and even cosmic consciousness.
Okay, you officially lost me at cosmic, but hey, I'm along for the ride. Break it down for me. What are these higher levels all about?
All right, so imagine this. What if our minds aren't just these separate, isolated things? What if we're all connected on a deeper level?
You mean like we're all part of one giant universal mind? Kind of like the Borg from Star Trek, but less assimilating.
Well, not exactly like the Borg, but the idea is that there's this underlying field of consciousness that connects us all.
Whoa, okay. That's already a lot to process. But then you said multidimensionality. Are we talking about parallel universes now?
We might be. Because this level suggests that there could be other dimensions, other realities existing alongside our own. And maybe, just maybe, our consciousness is capable of tapping into those other dimensions.
Okay, that's just mind-blowing. And cosmic consciousness is...
Think of it as the ultimate state of unity. It's the idea that we can transcend our individual identities and merge with this universal consciousness.
So basically becoming one with everything.
Exactly. It's like our consciousness expands to encompass the entirety of existence.
I don't know if we'll be reaching cosmic consciousness anytime soon, but I have to admit, this is some pretty wild stuff to think about. Wow, we've covered some serious ground today, from our everyday senses to like the ultimate cosmic connection.
It's quite a spectrum, right? But that's the thing about consciousness, there's always more to explore.
So much to unpack, but I'm curious, for our listeners who are just starting to wrap their heads around all of this, what's like a practical takeaway? How do we even begin to apply these ideas to our daily lives? It's not like we can just go become one with the universe tomorrow, right?
You'd be surprised, but you're right, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
The first step is simple. Pay attention. Just notice what's going on inside your own mind.
Like being more mindful of our thoughts and feelings.
Exactly, and how those thoughts and feelings change depending on what you're doing, who you're with, even the environment you're in.
So like if I'm feeling stressed, I should just stop and acknowledge that feeling.
Exactly. Don't try to fight it or push it away. Just observe it. The more aware we become of our internal world, the more we can start to understand and even influence our own consciousness.
It's like becoming a detective of your own mind.
I like that. And once you start paying attention, you might be surprised by what you discover.
And hey, if you want to take that exploration even further, there's always meditation, right?
Exactly. It's like a gym for your mind. You're strengthening those mental muscles, training your attention and focus.
But I bet some of our listeners are rolling their eyes right now thinking, oh, great, here we go with the meditation stuff again.
And that's totally understandable. It's not for everyone. But the truth is, there are so many different ways to connect with those deeper levels of awareness.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, we talked about meditation, but there's also mindfulness practices, yoga, even certain types of music or art can induce altered states of consciousness.
So it's about finding what works for you.
Precisely. It's a personal journey.
You know, there's one thing that's really stuck with me from this whole discussion. We talked about those higher levels of consciousness, like multidimensionality and the possibility of other realities.
Yes, that was pretty mind-bending.
It really got me thinking about dreams. You know how they can be so vivid and illogical?
Absolutely. Our dreams often seem to follow their own set of rules.
What if those dreams aren't just random nonsense? What if they're glimpses into those other dimensions, those other realities we were talking about?
It's an intriguing thought, isn't it? Maybe when we dream, our consciousness is free to explore those other realms without the limitations of our physical bodies.
So our minds are literally traveling to other dimensions while we sleep. That's amazing.
It certainly opens up a whole new world of possibilities. And even if it's not possible to prove scientifically, yet, it's a reminder that our understanding of consciousness is still evolving.
Well, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about today. From our everyday awareness to the mind-blowing potential of consciousness, it's been quite a journey.
It certainly has. But remember, this is just the beginning of the exploration.
Exactly. So keep asking questions, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep that beautiful, messy, endlessly fascinating consciousness of yours wide open.